Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is your host, Edna White, and you are on Keeping It Real on Purpose. We want to welcome you to the place where experts have in depth conversations about their life, their relationships, and business in real time. Real talk about real life on purpose, about success, failures, issues, and insights to a better life for you. Today on the show, we're excited to have and we want to welcome none other than our guest today, who I'm staring at and you guys aren't, Wanda. And she is going to share with you what she does. So I don't want to keep you waiting because I'm really excited about this. So Wanda, welcome to Keeping It Real on Purpose.
Well, thank you for having me on your show, Edna. It was very nice to meet you. So yes, exactly. I can talk a little bit about my business and what I'm doing currently. So my business itself has evolved over the time that I've done it. And I've had it for about probably 12 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And it started off as energy healing.
Okay.
I'm a Reiki teacher, so I was teaching Reiki. But it's also evolved in terms of coaching, because when you're trying to help somebody relax, de-stress, you end up coaching them a little bit. So I became a certified coach,
Mm-hmm.
and then I actually moved more into the professional speaking realm. So being able to do different workshops, talks, depending on who the audience was as to what's needed.
Right.
Now, I'm also on the side of that, and all this time, I've actually been a teacher.
Oh, okay.
So I've worked in the field of education for over 20 years, and I do different things. I'm usually never standing up in front of a class. I've always worked with special needs, worked one-on-one. So again, that coaching aspect, that there to help people figure out who they are and what they're meant to do.
Okay.
So really, that's been kind of my tagline in my business along the way.
Mm-hmm.
It's more evolved now into helping people discover their gifts, to be able to figure out who they are, to actually live their life using their gifts.
Right.
And that's living through your heart.
Yes. And I see your tagline is that from head to heart. I like that.
Yeah. So that actually is the title of my new children's book.
Oh.
So it's just essentially being released. The book launch is on August the 25th, or at this time it was on August 25th. So the book will be available.
Okay.
And what this book is about, it starts off with a little girl that's being bullied. So it's about the effects of bullying. It moves into her journey of she actually withdrew behind her imaginary stone wall. So it's that idea of what effects on mental health bullying may have, as well as then it's like, then she got to the point of seeing somebody else being bullied and decided she needed to ask for help herself in order to get rid of this wall. So instead of living her life like through her head, through her
Mm-hmm.
mind, trying to control things from other people's beliefs, she realized she needed to ask for help, being able to be using her own gifts and
Right.
being able to live through her heart. So she asked for help, was able to take down her wall, and therefore was able to feel that vibrancy of life again.
Nice.
So a lot of levels and lessons in this book.
Mm-hmm.
And I say it's a book for all ages. So yes, it's written
It's
as
for
a
all
children's
ages.
book.
Okay.
But I think any age can actually learn from different things from this book.
Okay.
This story is very universal in terms of it doesn't have to be bullying that maybe was the trauma at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
It could be any sort of thing. It could even just be recovery from a pandemic even.
Right.
So
That is a trauma all by itself.
Yeah. So, and then again, it's that what's the response from a person's effect of being in trauma.
Right.
So in this case, in this story, it was about the little girl and she builds up the wall. So essentially inappropriate boundaries.
Right.
So what could she have done instead?
Right.
Or what were some of the other reactions people may have to trauma? So we take this book as a tool to get into some real life discussion.
Mm-hmm. And it's important
that's
to
the whole
have.
idea of.
It's important to have
Pardon?
those real life conversations with your children as well, correct?
Yes, that's the whole idea. That's why I made it a children's book, right? So
Yes.
for anybody, so whether it's teachers, social workers, parents, or grandparents, just the whole idea is to open up these discussions with our children. So
Right.
it's not discussions about feelings.
Right.
It's discussions about what empathy is.
Yeah.
Being able to put yourself in somebody else's shoes and understanding what they're going through. But it's also leading us to the emotional intelligence skills.
Ah.
Like the whole idea, you can use these discussions as, that tool building for self-awareness, self-regulation, all those social skills that we need as adults as well.
Mm-hmm.
So so the idea of being able to work with the youth and being able to help build these skills at that level so that they are emotionally intelligent adults.
Yeah. Let's talk about the emotional
real skill.
Yeah, let's talk about that emotional health part, because I'm finding that so many people after any type of trauma have issues with emotional health. And I know that now that you've added author to your repertoire of all your expertise, can you share some things about emotional health, maybe from the child's perspective and then adulthood?
Well, I think it is all about giving people tools in order to figure out how to respond to whatever trauma has happened in their life. So first of all, it's that being able to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
So of course, not being able to hide your emotions. Like in the story, Gwen buries her emotions.
Right.
So that's the whole idea of not being able to express the emotions. And then being able to express them in appropriate times and situations, and being able to be able to do it. That it's okay to have that emotional expression.
I got you.
And then also the tools of how you're going to respond to whatever situation as well.
Uh-huh.
So is it something that you need to figure out how to more de-stress from?
Right.
And what are your tools for de-stressing? You can talk about breathing. You can talk about relaxation techniques. You can talk about just being out in nature.
Oh, yeah.
Being out in a garden is just going to be so much more helpful.
Absolutely.
But then again, it's that it's okay to ask for help if you need help.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. That's good. That's
yeah.
good. Yeah, and I think we get lost about trying to express ourselves, or even accepting that we have emotions, and then burying them, like you say, kind of makes it a behavior now. Like, now when something as small as a pin drops, there's a problem, and I think that's really important to address early on in age, because we get lost kind of in those areas.
Yeah, and again, it's all skill building. Just being able for children and youth being able to understand that it's okay. You don't have to have things perfect.
No.
It's okay that you're building on these skills, as you journey through life.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so important.
And that's just it. Any age, you can continue to learn.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Build on the skill.
Absolutely. Now, who supported you when you started writing this book? Or where did this idea come from?
It actually kind of got written by itself in a way. I was actually going through a little bit of a healing journey. I was doing Gene Keys. I'm a Gene Keys guide, which Gene Keys is like a system, the combination of astrology, human design, and I Ching. And I was going through one of their systems, kind of going through a healing journey. And the book, essentially, I just sat down and wrote it one day. It is a little bit of my own story. So, yes, I was bullied as a child, and I did build up boundaries around myself.
Right.
So, it's kind of, parts of it is my story, and it's like, you really don't want everybody, or you want people to understand that it's okay, because you're only dealing with what you can do at that age.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then it's like, what can be next? What else can you do in order to respond to something more appropriate?
Absolutely the truth. I totally agree with you with what we work with what we have, and then where we are. We forget where we are. And we often kind of beat ourselves up. I coulda, shoulda, woulda, or I coulda did this, and it kind of changes, and it makes you kind of build those walls. Share with us how you would recommend how to start to take those walls down.
Well, I think the first thing would be to admit that you probably have some walls and barriers, whether it's, for whatever purpose in life. It could have been something so simple, but then you realize, oh, I've kind of have this belief or, conditioning that I'm not able to interact with something appropriately.
Mm-hmm.
So it's first that identification of where the wall might be in your life, what it might be related to.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't have to be any big trauma. Maybe somebody just called you a bad name somewhere along the way, or you had a fright, you were locked out of a house as a kid or something.
Right.
So it's like, you never know. But then the next step would be, well, what can I do about it?
Yeah.
And then it's being able to figure out, do I need help? So the idea of whether you should be, seeking some sort of therapy, or is it more just teasing out the pieces of it?
Yeah.
Kind of really feeling, well, first of all, it's where do you feel whatever in your body?
Yeah, I believe that
too. Do
you
feel something locked up in your body somewhere? That's always something that you can ask yourself. Because quite often it's these things that we've locked away in ourselves for so long that can actually turn into some physical illness later on.
Absolutely.
It's kind of, as you've locked these emotions down in your body. And it comes down to just feeling the emotion.
Yeah.
So if you're able to figure out where it is, just kind of feel it for a bit and then try to release it.
Right. And that's important to release it.
And that's where quite often the energy work that I've done helps release those emotions too.
Okay. That makes great sense. I do talk about that too. I'm still on my healing journey. Let me say that, because healing is for
Aren't we
always.
all?
But as I began the healing journey, I found out that my wall was built up in my throat because I was talking, but I wasn't talking. I wasn't talking about the things I needed to talk about. I wasn't addressing the things I needed to address. So I was, I'm very vocal anyway, but I remember going to a Reiki healing, and he says, your energy's caught in your throat. And I was like, not me. Not me. I talk all the time. He said, you're not talking about the right things, and you're not defending yourself.
Through your heart, perhaps.
No, perhaps I was not. I was not admitting that there was heart problems. There was heart issues. The sadness was locked. It was locked away in the box, and I refused to feel the sadness. And that in itself is a problem. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't realize that, okay, I'm going to make everything happy. I'm not going to acknowledge any sadness. I'm not going to take it on. And you get to that place that pretty soon everything kind of blends together, and then you burst. If that makes sense, you burst. So I had to learn along the way, after that healing process, that awareness that's where it was. I then kind of, like you said, started to be aware of that, started to address those things, and pretty soon it started to come out better, easier and easier about the tough subjects, the things that I really wanted to address that were in my heart that I refused to address because it was connected to sadness.
Yeah.
So emotions have a lot to do with it. Yeah, emotions have a lot. We're taught, the proverbial children should be seen and not heard. Really was the trauma for me, if that makes sense. And I know the little girl in your story probably heard that, kind of heard that along the way. Yeah. And so
that's just it, is if we can get children understanding that it's okay to talk about and feel the feelings, there's a big step for they're not going to be producing different blocks in their life as in their bodies. Yeah,
absolutely. And that leads to, guess what, generational patterns being broken completely. once you become aware of it and you started addressing it, like you said, awareness, addressing, and putting things in action, those three A's, oh my goodness, it starts taking down the wall. Starts taking the walls down.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's good stuff. That's
Yeah.
good stuff.
Yeah, no, and that's just it. For more people to be aware
Mm-hmm.
of these possibilities, it's a lot of people are probably walking through life not even realizing, oh, I wonder if I created some of those myself.
Yeah.
And it's,
Yeah.
yeah. And so that's why I say this book is for all ages, because yes, I've targeted it as a child's book,
Mm-hmm.
but really so many people can relate to it.
Yeah.
And that's why it's like, I'm planning on starting this fall. Of course, I'm doing author visits to school, talking to youth,
Mm-hmm.
but I can easily be going to different organizations and
Right.
To be able to talk it from an adult perspective as well.
Sure, absolutely.
So many different layers and levels.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I want to lean into you starting as an author, having all this great knowledge as an instructor, teacher, life coach, having all this information. What was there times that you were challenged? Should I write this book? What's going to happen with it? Were there times like that for you?
Oh, for sure. Especially when I said this has started off as my story.
Mm-hmm.
That took me, from the time that I wrote the book, which would have been March 2021 or so. It took a few months, and I get coaching myself, so talking it over with my coaches, and it was the other people that were encouraging me, you have to get this book out there.
Yeah.
And the whole idea, but it's that worry about putting your own story out there well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and so encouraging from my coaches,
Mm-hmm.
from other people that I network with, how I deal with, and it was that encouragement from the others to actually put out the book itself.
Mm-hmm.
And I went with a Kickstarter campaign, so I raised the funds to pay for the illustrator.
Mm-hmm.
And some editing. So, so it was quite a journey, even just like a learning process for me to be able to go through, to get to the point of, okay, now I have a book done. Now what can I do with it?
And it's all steps. Those questions like, now what do I do, is a step, okay, I got here to this level. Now I'm going to go to the next level. And there's the question. Now what do I do? Okay. Then you have to, you have to take that.
Gets bigger and
bigger and higher, right? And higher.
As it's going out more into more people and more into the world.
Yes.
Yeah, it's and sometimes I feel like, as I said, I feel this book wrote itself, but I feel it's like little own being that it's like, I'm just kind of birthed it out and it's ready to soar.
What are some misunderstandings around bullying that you've come across?
Misunderstandings. Well, a lot of it though too is when a person has been bullied, they're going to be feeling that shame
mm-hmm.
or their guilt.
Mm-hmm.
That what did I do wrong? Why people don't like me? Am I not good enough? There's a big one that always comes up again, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's that person who is being bullied, it's like they're questioning themselves. Whereas there is probably nothing wrong with them. And quite often it's the person who's doing the bullying that has actually, they're kind of putting whatever issues and problems that they're having onto somebody else. And so it's that kind of, it's that misunderstanding of the person being bullied, not understanding it's not usually about them.
Right.
But they make it about themselves, and that's kind of where they get into the self-harm parts of it.
Okay.
But also that bullying, the fact of, that misunderstanding again, too, of seeing someone bullying somebody else,
mm-hmm.
Everybody else being either afraid to step in to stop it.
Okay.
Or, the other people questioning, well, are they right? Are they wrong?
Right.
Like, but it's kind of that, it really, that misunderstanding of not to question it. It's
mm-hmm.
just wrong to actually be putting someone down like that.
Right. Right, right. And it's not about brushing it off or the proverbial sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never
Yeah,
harm me. That's not true.
yeah. That
It's
is
not
so
true.
wrong. Words have so much power.
Oh yes, yes. Out of our mouths becomes creation, and I don't even know how that even started. That saying started, but all of us take things differently. I can say to you, "Oh, you got a funny eyebrow," and I could say to three other people, they take it differently. But you may be traumatized about it because your eyebrow, that at that point we don't know where your mind is. So saying things that are very harmful to people may not even be harmful to you, but just being aware as a person who you don't know if you're doing it. You don't know if you're bullying. So you got to be very careful as well, because we take on things that we hear people say, and we just got to be very careful about being sensitive. And I think you shared vulnerability took a lot for you to put this book out here, because I know for me I had to be vulnerable and say this is my truth, and I'm not going to bully anybody with this book. I'm not going to say the wrong thing, but I'm going to put it all in perspective to be able to help. And I think that's what your book brings about is I'm going to tell you the story, but here's some of the things that I've done to get over the hump. And a lot of books and authors don't share that part. And I'm really proud to know that you did. You share those parts.
Thank you.
So this is great information for my audience and myself, to get to know all about your business. And now it's time to turn the tables and know about you as a person. Now, a couple of questions I'm going to ask you are about your person. Okay. So, I want to know, um, who was the most important person in your life that kind of pushed you towards everything?
I would have to say my mother.
Okay.
Just for the fact that even though as a child I probably did not think she was always right, as an adult, I
Mm-hmm.
realized she was very wise.
Right.
Yeah, and unfortunately, she's no longer with me. She's been gone for over 10 years now.
Right.
But you can still find that you can look at something that was from her, and it's like, oh
Right.
yeah, you remember some words of
Yeah.
wisdom or the way that she
Absolutely.
did things. And I truly got her love of nature
Mm-hmm.
through her. Yeah, she always had lovely gardens, and my gardens will never look like hers, but I try to at least have a lot of plants and flowers and color in my gardens. And even just her kind, gentle ways
Yeah. And
of
while you're
helping me
saying that,
feel more comfortable.
okay. So while you're saying that, I forgot to ask you what part of the world are you from?
Sorry, I'm in London, Ontario, Canada.
Oh, nice. Okay. So it's same
And
weather?
I've always lived in the area of southern Ontario.
Okay.
So
Okay.
either around Toronto, a couple
Okay.
of hours worth of Toronto.
Okay. What's the best compliment you ever received?
Probably the best compliment would have to be about just just the energy that I put off makes somebody else feel more comfortable.
Oh, that's nice. That's really nice.
Mm-hmm.
That's really nice. If you could have a billboard with anything on it, what would it be and why?
Well, then I'm tempted to actually put it a little bit towards some of the words that I use, like about live through your heart.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So having people actually use their gifts that they've been given, realize their gifts so that they understand what they can do and just put them out there through the world, using their heart
Mm-hmm.
rather than trying to control other people.
Right. That's good. And now, what would you pick for your last meal?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Mm. There's so many scrumptious things out there, but it would have to involve cheese.
Okay.
Cheese probably on some vegetables,
Uh-huh.
some grapefruit. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Very light. I like that. I like that. So, how can my audience find you? Can you give us some of your social media
Yeah.
platforms that you're on?
So, my website is wandadavis.ca. And so there's lots of information there about how you can get my book from head to heart. I also have Facebook. I'm pretty easy to find on Facebook, I think. So
Okay.
Wanda Davis, and I
Okay.
think usually people can find me that way. I'm also in Instagram. Instagram, it's Wanda Davis 823. On Twitter, it's Elements of Her.
Okay.
So lots of different ways of finding me
Okay.
out there.
So, audience, you know you can find Wanda Davis everywhere. So look for her, and ask the questions that you need to ask about head to heart work. You need to work on that head to heart. I love it. I love the concept. I love how you are introducing this book to the world. And do you have any final thoughts that you can best share with everyone?
Express your gifts, because that's what you're here to do, to help other people in the world.
Right. Great.
And that usually means living through the heart, because you need to live true to yourself, know yourself,
Right.
and be you.
Yes. Wonderful. Well, that's great information. And that brings us to the end of the show. Thank you for listening. And if you enjoyed the episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others, post it about on social media, and leave a rating or review. And remember, there's a little button down on the bottom of this Anchor pod episode that you can press and leave a question for Wanda Davis. And I'll send it right to her, and she can answer the question directly. Remember, you can find me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, EJW Coaching. And thanks again, and I'll see you the next time. This is Edna White, your host of Keeping It Real on Purpose, and my esteemed guest, Wanda Davis, saying bye for now.
Bye. Thank you.